This episode of Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling is powered by W Energy. Listen up, brother. You know in the squared circle, it's all about having the energy to go the distance. No sugar crashes, no jitters, just clean, focused fuel to keep you going through every promo, every match, and every late-night wrestling binge. That's where W Energy comes in, the ultimate tag team partner for your brain and body. Packed with vitamins, antioxidants, and a knockout flavor lineup, W is here to make sure you never gas out before the final bell. No fake stuff, no gimmicks, just pure power. So whether you're cutting promos or cutting down on fatigue, grab a tub of W and unleash your inner champ. Head on over to w.gg and use promo code Mr. and Mrs. to get 10% off your first order. That's w.gg/Mr. and Mrs. Fuel up, throw down, and leave your competition down for the 3 count.
Welcome back to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling Podcast, the show where wrestling history, today's biggest stories, and a few friendly debates all collide in one place.
This week we're celebrating one of the crown jewels of professional wrestling, SummerSlam. For nearly 4 decades, it's been the event that closes out the summer with unforgettable matches, career-defining moments, and more than a few surprises.
We're doing this one a little differently. Before we start making predictions for this weekend, we're taking a trip through SummerSlam history. We'll rewind all the way back to 1988. The very first SummerSlam, to see how WWE launched what would become one of its legendary Big Four pay-per-views.
Then we'll fast forward to SummerSlam 2002, a show that many fans still rank among the greatest pay-per-views WWE has ever produced. Shawn Michaels' return, Brock Lesnar's rise, Kurt Angle, The Rock, it's a card that's still talked about over 20 years later.
But we're not here to just relive the past.
Because after we finish our retrospective, it's all eyes on Minneapolis, Minnesota, where WWE is bringing us another 2-night SummerSlam packed with championship matches, personal rivalries, and storylines that could shape the rest of the year.
We'll break down every major match, give you our predictions, talk about what has us excited, and maybe even disagree on a few outcomes along the way.
Whether you've been watching SummerSlam since Madison Square Garden in 1988, or you just started following WWE this year, we've got something for every wrestling fan.
So grab your favorite snack, settle in, and let's kick off the biggest party of the summer. This is the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling Podcast.
Today we're turning the clock back to the summer of 1988 to revisit a night that changed the pay-per-view landscape forever, the very first SummerSlam. On August 29th, 1988, inside the legendary Madison Square Garden in New York City, the World Wrestling Federation launched what would become one of the biggest annual events in professional wrestling. Created during the height of the wrestling boom to help the WWF compete with Jim Crockett Promotions, SummerSlam quickly earned its place alongside WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series as one of wrestling's iconic Big Four. But before it became a 2-night stadium spectacle, SummerSlam was simply a bold new idea with a stacked card, larger-than-life personalities, and the pressure of living up to the WWF's biggest events. So let's take a trip back to where it all began. We'll revisit the matches, the moments, and the lasting impact of the inaugural SummerSlam to see why nearly 4 decades later, this event still holds a special place in wrestling history.
So before we get started on SummerSlam 88, I want to give you a little side story here on what could have been.
Okay.
So going into this, there was a character, you may recall seeing him, Brother Love.
Yes.
So they were teasing a huge segment and a huge interview.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess who in 1988 would have been a huge interview and surprise for the first annual SummerSlam?
Of celebrities or other wrestlers?
Other wrestlers.
Aside from Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan was already working for the WWF
So
at this
this
time.
is somebody that wasn't working for the WWF?
Yep.
And Brother Love interviewed him?
Nope. He was teased to interview this individual.
I wouldn't even know who. Where to begin?
So the rumor was at this time in 1988, they were so close to signing one Nature Boy Ric Flair.
What?
There was rumors that he was going to debut at this SummerSlam.
Okay.
There was also rumors that the original $1 Million Man concept was originally slated for
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
He would have done it proud.
So that was the big story. They wound up not getting Ric Flair, but they did wind up signing Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Two out of the 4 horsemen.
Right. So imagine if they would have gotten all 3 of those guys in 1988 at the peak of their prime.
That would have been crazy.
All probably in the Heenan family, and maybe, we get that Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
Trump Plaza, Ric Flair, Donald Trump, Hulk Hogan. That's a story.
Wow. Brother Love. I love you. With his red face. That was a crazy gimmick. Definitely one of my least favorite gimmicks. I wasn't a Brother Love fan. But I'm sure he was supposed to be annoying.
And he's still in charge.
Bruce Pritchard, there you go. All right, so SummerSlam 1988 started off with the tag team match. It was the British Bulldogs versus the Fabulous Rougeaus. The time limit draw was 20 minutes. So isn't this a feud that was talked about on Dark Side of the Ring?
Oh, there absolutely was some talk on Dark Side of the Ring about this. And this is one of the most infamous backstage stories in wrestling history.
Okay.
So on television, the British Bulldogs and the Rougeau brothers were feuding in the ring. But behind the scenes, there was real animosity, especially involving the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington.
Okay.
The story starts with a locker room prank. Someone cut up Dynamite Kid's clothes, and without knowing who was actually responsible, Billington assumed it was Jacques Rougeau, who we just happened to see this past week
at Montreal
in Redemption.
Okay.
And Billington assumed it was Jacques, but the real culprit was Curt Hennig, better known as Mr. Perfect.
Now, was he a jokester or was this to be a dick?
Curt Hennig was the ultimate ribber. So, he grew up in the wrestling business, just like the Rougeaus did, and you always played pranks. They called it ribs. Mm-hmm. And Curt Hennig and Owen Hart were the 2 biggest ribbers of all time.
Okay.
But Dynamite never found out that it was actually Curt Hennig. So believing Jacques was behind it, Dynamite attacked him backstage at a show in Miami Beach. And by all accounts, it was a vicious assault that left Jacques with a broken nose. And certainly, if you know anything about Jacques Rougeau, he didn't forget it. So he waited for the right moment to get his revenge, and later that year, backstage before another event, Jacques called out Dynamite Kid's name, and as soon as Billington turned around, Jacques hit him square in the jaw with a punch loaded with a roll of quarters hidden in his fist.
Jeez.
The result was devastating. Several of Dynamite Kid's teeth were knocked out, and people backstage described blood pouring everywhere. Jacques' brother Raymond, who you also saw at AEW Redemption, stood nearby to make sure nobody stepped in until Jacques had made the point. Eventually, WWE Hall of Famer Pat Patterson broke up the fight, and afterward, Vince McMahon gathered the entire locker room, including Hulk Hogan, for a meeting to make clear that things went too far.
It's one of those stories that has become wrestling folklore because it just shows how different the locker room culture was in the 80s. Pranks, stiff matches, and personal grudges often spilled over into real life, and this is one of the most violent examples. Thankfully, it's also one of those incidents that reminds us how much the business has changed for the better over the years.
Yeah, so I mean, these were, Davey Boy was trained by the Harts, Dynamite was trained by the Harts, and the Rougeaus come from a long family of wrestlers.
Yeah.
So they all knew the business. This was a solid opening match. It was a fun match. And unfortunately, it was the beginning of the end for the British Bulldogs. Not long after this, they would leave the company and head to Japan. Eventually, Davey Boy made his way back, but the Dynamite Kid never made it back to the WWE.
Wow.
Yeah, so interesting stuff.
Then we had Bad News Brown picking up the win against Ken Patera. This match was only 6 minutes and 33 seconds. What can we learn about Ken Patera?
So, just like the first story, Ken Patera, he's a fascinating figure in wrestling history. So before he ever stepped in the wrestling ring, Patera was one of the strongest men in the world. He was an elite Olympic caliber weightlifter. He won gold in the 71 Pan American Games and finished runner-up at the World Weightlifting Championships that same year. His legitimate work ethic credentials gave him an aura that few wrestlers could match. And he broke into professional wrestling in 1972, training alongside someone we just talked about, Ric Flair, in the AWA territory. And over the next decade, he became a major star everywhere he went. He wrestled for the AWA, the WWF, Mid-Atlantic, and toured extensively in Japan, earning a reputation as one of wrestling's toughest and most believable villains. By the mid-1980s, Patera was one of WWF's top heels. He famously aligned himself with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Big John Studd during their rivalry with Andre the Giant. And one of the most memorable moments from that feud came when Patera helped Studd hold Andre down and they cut his hair. Moment that generated incredible heat and became a defining angle of that era. But Patera's career took an unexpected turn in 1985. So after being denied service at a McDonald's after closing time in Wisconsin, an incident escalated into vandalism and a confrontation with police. Patera and a fellow wrestler, Masa Saito, were ultimately convicted of assaulting police officers.
Jesus.
And Patera served about a year in prison before returning to the WWF in 1987. When he came back, the WWF completely reinvented him. Instead of returning as the villain fans remembered, he became a fan favorite. The story was that Bobby Heenan had abandoned him while he was in prison and betrayed their friendship. This led to a memorable confrontation where Patera attacked Heenan with his own belt, leaving the Brain wearing a neck brace on television for months. It was a unique redemption story and one of the most successful babyface turns in the late 80s. So while many fans remember Ken Patera for his incredible strength, he's also remembered for one of wrestling's most dramatic real-life controversies and one of the more surprising career comebacks of that generation. And if you ever hear the stories on the, shoot videos with Ken Patera, him and Saito roughed up a few police officers during that night.
I'm sure.
So it was wild. And, again, real life coming into play.
Then we had a singles match. Ravishing Rick Rude picked up the win against JYD due to DQ in 6 minutes and 18 seconds.
So Rick Rude won this match by disqualification because during this time he was in a huge feud with Jake the Snake Roberts.
Okay.
And Rick Rude went up to the top rope to deliver one of his famous fist drops to JYD. And on the top rope, he stood up and pulled part of his trunks down, and it revealed the picture of Jake the Snake's wife, Cheryl Roberts, on the front of his trunks.
Wow.
So
I remember that.
He delivered his punch, and then he did the Ric Flair hip wiggle, and Jake the Snake hit the ring and started pounding on him.
And that was how he was DQ'd.
And that's how he was DQ'd, thus protecting JYD, who was only in WWE a little bit longer after this, and elevated Rick Rude and continued that feud with Jake the Snake.
Wow.
I remember, having this on VHS as a kid, and to see, someone else's wife on his trunks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
With their face right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably.
And of course you had Gorilla Monsoon going crazy on commentary.
I could
So
imagine.
it was awesome.
And then we had a tag team match, the Powers of Pain, which was the Barbarian and the Warlord, with the Baron defeating the Bolsheviks, which is Boris Zukov and Nikolai Volkov with Slick. This match only went 5 minutes and 27 seconds. Short matches again.
Yeah, so this was a introduction to the Powers of Pain. They were trying to make them, their version of the Road Warriors. The face paint, the big, muscly guys.
Yeah.
They even had Baron von Raschke from the AWA as their manager.
Yeah.
It wouldn't last long because at Survivor Series that same year, they did the old double turn where the Powers of Pain were the good guys coming in, Demolition were the bad guys, and they swapped, and the Powers of Pain went with Mr. Fuji, and then Demolition became the babyface team.
Yeah.
So they were trying to make the Powers of Pain, the good guys, but nobody bought into it. They were fun to watch, but, they weren't nearly as good as Demolition at this time.
Yeah. Then we had The Ultimate Warrior versus Honky Tonk Man with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. It was a title change, 31 seconds. Ultimate Warrior takes the championship.
Yeah, so this was originally supposed to be Honky Tonk Man versus Brutus the Barber Beefcake, but Beefcake was injured, and they had a mystery opponent. And at this time, the Honky Tonk Man had been the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion,
Yeah.
held the title for over a year, and he didn't care who his opponent was. He said he didn't want to know. He'd find out when he got out there, and nobody knew until that music hit, and you heard that famous Ultimate Warrior music.
Yeah.
And then he rushed down to the ring, attacked the Honky Tonk Man, won the title. It was one of those huge defining moments in a career, and Honky Tonk Man was the ultimate, bad guy, and he just plummeted after that.
Yeah.
He was never the same, and the Ultimate Warrior skyrocketed and went on to, be a huge star. And as a young kid watching this as a Honky Tonk Man fan, this was hard to watch. And yeah, it was the beginning of the end of that solid singles run for the Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah.
But huge moment. The New York crowd went absolutely crazy
sure
for the
they
Warrior
did.
when they came out. And it set off the Warrior as like one of the next big guys.
Then we had a singles match. Dino Bravo with Frenchie Martin picks up the win against Don Morocco. This match went 5 minutes and 28 seconds.
So at this time, Don Morocco was becoming an ultimate babyface after being a bad guy his entire career.
Yeah.
And it started when he came out and made the save for superstar Billy Graham, saving him from Slick and the one-man gang. And this started, his run as a good guy. And it was weird to see Morocco, the guy who always was the Intercontinental Champion, battling Snuka, battling Hogan, teaming up with Heenan, always with Mr. Fuji.
Yeah.
They had that huge segment on Tuesday Night Titans, Fuji Vice, where they, copied Miami Vice, and it was Mr. Fuji and Don Morocco instead of Don Johnson.
That's pretty funny.
And yeah, this wasn't, a real good match. Morocco at this time was jacked out of his mind. He wasn't,
roided. He was roided to the gills.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't just, the beach bum that everybody says he was and just, a big guy.
Yeah.
But his veins were popping out.
Yeah.
And Dino Bravo, he was a strong man himself, but, this match just didn't click. And at this time of WWF, it was the bigger you are, the more time you're going to get. And, they weren't having long matches, as you could see here. It was more about personalities at this time.
Yeah. We had, after that, a WWF World Tag Team title match. Demolition, which was Axe and Smash, with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart and Mr. Fuji pick up the win against the Hart Foundation. So Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart. This match went for 9 minutes and 49 seconds. Why so long?
Meltzer gave this 1.5 stars, but I absolutely loved this match. This was one of my favorite matches during this time. It was when the Hart Foundation had just split from Jimmy Hart because he managed both the Rougeaus and the Hart Foundation. Okay. And he was taking a percentage of the Hart Foundation's money and giving it to the Rougeaus.
Yeah.
So the Hart Foundation didn't like that. They left. And when they got this title match, they had Demolition working with Jimmy Hart, telling them all the secrets of the Hart Foundation and everything.
Yeah.
And to end the match, Jimmy Hart threw the megaphone into Demolition. They hit the Hart Foundation, picked up the win, and Jimmy Hart cost the Hart Foundation this tag title match. And these teams would go on a couple years later to have another tag team title match. This time it would be a 2 out of 3 falls match. No Jimmy Hart this time, no Mr. Fuji. And in the next match that they had for the titles, it was the Legion of Doom making the
Wow.
the interference for the Hart Foundation and allowing them to pick up the win. But this is when the Hart Foundation really took off as good guys, and you would see the rise of Bret the Hitman Hart, because in a few years he was beating Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title, and we're 4 years away from his one of his big shining moments,
Yeah.
which was winning the world title, beating Ric Flair, and coming off of his huge SummerSlam
Yeah.
against his brother-in-law, the British Bulldog, at Wembley Stadium, headlining as the Intercontinental Champion.
You are like such a wrestling historian. You remember so many things.
I've been watching it my entire life, and you got to think, like, I rewatched these so much as a kid,
Yeah.
because I would, you didn't have streaming services back then,
Right.
so my parents would order these pay-per-views and record them on VHS tapes, so I could watch them over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So I would play with my wrestlers and just rewatch these matches. So you just, this was my era. This is my childhood.
Then there was a singles match. The Big Boss Man and Slick pick up the win against Coco Beware. This match went for 5 minutes and 57 seconds.
So yeah, this was early Big Boss Man in the WWF. He was coming off a run with Jim Crockett Promotions. If you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check out the Big Boss Man Dark Side of the Ring that just aired recently this week. He was big in Crockett Promotions, his first big feud, coming off of him being the muscle for Jim Cornette, was with Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
He went all around battling Dusty, and word got back to Vince, and Vince signed him, offered him big money, and one of his first big feuds was with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
When, him and Slick and Akeem were together, and they were the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
So they would go on to have, huge feuds with the Mega Powers, and, one of the most memorable Saturday night's main event was the cage match with the Big Boss Man and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Then we had Jake the Snake picking up the win against Hercules. This match went for 10 minutes and 6 seconds, which I'm shocked. I feel like Hercules always looked exhausted.
Yeah, Hercules was good. Again, someone else that was roided out of their skull.
Yeah.
He was huge, and Jake Roberts was so over at this time. There was a lot of talk here. Could Jake Roberts be world champion at some point?
Right.
Because everybody loved him. Everybody loved the music. Everybody loved the DDT. Nobody had ever done a move like that.
Yeah.
And, nobody ever kicked out of the DDT when Jake did it. And he was just different. He was a good guy that didn't get loud. He talked low, but he was the Snake. So there was always something a little dark about him. But, in the 80s, he fit right in, and he was cool as cool can be. And this was the beginning of the end of Hercules' bad guy run.
Yeah.
He would be, his contract would be sold from Bobby Heenan to Slick not long after.
Yeah.
And that effectively turned Hercules to a good guy when he refused to work for Slick.
Yeah. Then we had a tag team match with a special guest referee, Jesse the Body Ventura. Did he have a jewel in his chin? I didn't notice.
I don't believe so. Not for this one.
This match was the Mega Powers. So, one of my favorite partnerships in history, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth, of course, pick up the win against the Mega Bucks, which is Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase with Bobby Heenan and Virgil. This match went for 13 minutes and 57 seconds.
So, in rewatching this, one of the first things I pointed out to you was look at everybody in this match. The only people left in this entire match are Jesse the Body Ventura and Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, you're right. They all died.
All the Mega Powers are gone. Andre's gone. Heenan's gone. Virgil's gone. I mean, this was huge. At this time, Hogan and Savage together.
Yeah.
As a tag team.
2 of the biggest stars in the company.
Yeah, and taking on Andre and DiBiase. And DiBiase was the ultimate heel at this time. I mean, he was over like crazy as a bad guy. And, so this is August. You got to figure in end of March, early April, that's when Savage had won the title in that one-night tournament at WrestleMania 4. So Hogan was still off, doing movies and stuff, and Savage was the main draw. And this was huge. And the infamous moment in this match is when the secret weapon, Miss Elizabeth, got on the apron and dropped her skirt in that defining moment where,
I remember that.
Oh my God, she's in a bikini bottom.
Yeah.
And Madison Square Garden went crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody stopped what they were doing, and all eyes were on Miss Elizabeth.
Well, I mean, she was so pretty. It was probably such a shocker for everyone.
And it's so crazy to think, 10 years later, that would have been nothing.
Right.
They would have had Miss Elizabeth.
Puppies!
They would have had her in a thong covered in Jell-O and whatever else at this time.
Panty matches,
right.
Bikini contests.
So it just shows you, how society and how the WWF changed in a matter of years.
Yeah.
So, but this was awesome. I really enjoyed this match. It'll always bring back good memories because this was you'd never seen a SummerSlam before. Nobody knew what a SummerSlam was. And it was just awesome to see. And you had all these big names, Jesse Ventura, the ultimate bad guy announcer, ultimate bad guy wrestler, who was always a foe of Hulk Hogan. And he's going to be the special referee.
Yep.
Is he going to cheat? Going into this, DiBiase filled his pockets with cash. So you thought, Ventura's not going to call it down the middle.
He's going to cheat.
And he didn't want to count 3, but Savage pushed his hand down and made him count 3.
Yeah.
So that's how they did it. But, this was a fun SummerSlam. If you like 80s wrestling, this will be right up your alley. Certainly, there's no 5-star matches here. Nothing that's going to blow your mind. But it was
fun.
It was fun, and it was 80s wrestling, and, I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
So SummerSlam 1988 gave us the birth of one of WWE's biggest annual traditions. It was a show built around larger-than-life personalities, classic good versus evil storytelling, and the golden era of professional wrestling.
Fast forward 14 years and the wrestling landscape couldn't look more different. The Attitude Era had come and gone, WCW had closed its doors, and WWE was entering a brand new chapter with a roster loaded with emerging superstars and established legends.
If SummerSlam 88 introduced the event to the world, SummerSlam 2002 redefined what it could be. This was the first SummerSlam after the brand extension, and many fans consider it one of the greatest pay-per-views WWE has ever produced.
From Shawn Michaels' emotional return to the ring to Brock Lesnar's coronation as the next face of the company, this card was stacked from top to bottom.
So let's jump ahead from the birth of SummerSlam to one of its absolute peak performances as we break down SummerSlam 2.
We're heading to August 25th, 2002, inside the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York for the 15th annual SummerSlam. This wasn't just another edition of the WWE's biggest event of the summer. It marked the first SummerSlam of the Ruthless Aggression era, the first held under the WWE name after the company officially changed from the WWF, and the first SummerSlam following the introduction of the brand extension, with both Raw and SmackDown bringing their biggest stars to one incredible card. What makes this show so special is that more than 2 decades later, fans and critics still talk about it as one of the greatest SummerSlams and one of the greatest professional wrestling pay-per-views ever produced. From career-defining performances to unforgettable championship matches and the rise of a future megastar, this event has everything you could ask for from a wrestling show. So let's head back to the summer of 2002 and revisit one of WWE's all-time classics, SummerSlam 2002. So I picked this one. I picked it because it's kind of like the tail end of the Attitude Era, and that was my era, even though we're the same age. I just came into the game a little bit later. The match kicks off with a singles match. It was Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. Kurt Angle picks up the win in 9 minutes and 25 seconds.
So this was Rey Mysterio's first SummerSlam, and it solidified Mysterio as someone to pay attention to in WWE.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon was very big on size, and Rey Mysterio did not fit his mold.
Definitely not.
But when Kurt Angle said, "I'll work with Rey," and proceeded to have a match like this, Dave Meltzer gave it 3.5 stars. Cage Match has it at 8.37. I loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it showed exactly why Kurt Angle's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
Because he could mix it up with anybody. Big Show, Brock Lesnar, Cena, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, JBL, The Undertaker. It didn't matter. And it showed Rey Mysterio could also go with anybody.
Yeah.
And it really put him on the map. And this was an awesome match, completely different from the card that we just watched,
Right.
where this now is fantastic wrestling. You're seeing some of the best wrestling you're ever going to see in a card like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we had a great match with Ric Flair and Chris Jericho. This match went for 10 minutes and 25 seconds. Ric Flair picks up the win. You know, I love a good Ric Flair match. I love the begging. I love the strutting. Like, everything he does, I just love it. And
Yeah.
Chris Jericho's like my all-time favorite.
And this was, Flair still, with a good fastball. He could still go.
Yeah.
His confidence wasn't there. He didn't believe he was Ric Flair at this time.
But he looked the part, though.
Right.
He still made us believe he was.
And that's what a lot of people deal with. What they see in the mirror is not always what everybody else sees.
Yeah.
And it's hard for everybody. And we know pro wrestling's a cosmetic business.
Mm-hmm.
Ric Flair was used to seeing what he saw in 1989.
Right.
He was in his 50s at this time.
Yep.
So he wasn't the young guy. When he won the Royal Rumble in 92, he was 40.
Yep.
This isn't the Chris Jericho that, we know and love today.
Yeah.
He still was finding himself. He had some success, he had some moments.
Right.
But it's not like he was always in the world picture conversation at this time.
Yeah. That makes sense. We had a singles match. Edge picks up the win against Eddie Guerrero in 11 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, this was kind of the start of them pushing Edge as a singles competitor. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was getting away from Christian, becoming a good guy. He had the Rob Zombie song, and, Eddie Guerrero was Eddie Guerrero. Everybody loved Eddie. He wasn't considered a top guy here. He was, destined for the middle card, Intercontinental title, things like that, but was still, again, at the top of his game. He could go with anybody, and, it was not too long after that Eddie had his issues and he was let go for a little while from WWE.
Then we had the WWE World Tag Team title match. Christian and Lance Storm pick up the win against Booker T and Goldust. Now, Lance Storm, wasn't he partnered with Chris Jericho, or they came up together?
Yeah, they trained together. They were a tag team before. At this time, Lance Storm, Christian, William Regal, and Test were part of the group, the Un-Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And, because they were all Canadian or British, except for Test, he's from Florida, but they put him in there. And Booker T and Goldust, this was when Booker T was trying to find himself.
Yeah.
And Goldust was always, Goldust. He was entertaining here. And, the Booker T Goldust team was fun to watch. But, this was an okay match. I always liked Lance Storm. I always thought he was fun. I really loved when he was with Just Incredible and Chris Candido as a tag team in ECW. And he had a lot of success in WCW, as United States champion, hardcore champion, cruiserweight champion. He did it all there.
Yeah.
And, he had a nice run here, but, solid tag team match, nothing spectacular. The fact that this got 3 stars and Angle and Mysterio got 3 3/4, that just blows my mind there, Dave.
I mean, he was different back then, too.
Yeah.
Then we had a WWE Intercontinental title match. Rob Van Dam defeats Chris Benoit. This was a title change. This match went for 16 minutes and 30 seconds. We love Rob Van Dam.
In 2002, I was loving this.
Yeah.
I was a huge RVD fan. You know, all my friends growing up, everybody liked Stone Cold, everybody liked The Rock.
You loved RVD.
I loved RVD. When everybody was talking about, you know, what Austin was doing and everything, I was talking about, well, let me tell you about ECW. Let me tell you about the Sandman, Sabu, Taz. Everybody thought I was crazy. I remember going to the Big E in the 7th grade, and I found somebody that was selling ECW shirts.
Yeah.
And I thought I was the coolest guy on earth because I went to middle school in an ECW shirt.
Yeah.
And nobody had any idea what that was. And I would tell anybody that would listen that Rob Van Dam was the best thing going. I remember the first time I saw him against Too Cold Scorpio on a VHS tape. Shout out Clint Childs for letting me borrow it. And it was awesome. I that was my guy from there on. I would stay up late on summers when I would visit my grandparents to watch ECW at 4 a.m.
Jesus.
because that was back when you would have to look in the TV guide or in the newspaper to see what would be on TV. And I just happened to look, and what is ECW wrestling at 4 a.m? So I would force myself to stay awake just so I could catch that 1 hour of TV on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was the highlight of my summer. And being able to see him come to WWE here and win titles, constantly being in the Intercontinental title picture, the hardcore title picture, you know, that was everything to me because, you know, this was my guy. You know, wrestling might not be, you know, quote unquote real as far as the finishes, but you still have your favorites and you still want them to win. And, you know, you're not in control of that as a fan.
Right.
So when your guy wins a big match, it feels like you win too.
Right.
And this match was awesome. And Benoit was, you know, regardless of, you know, what happened in his life as a professional wrestler, he was awesome. This match was awesome. And, you know, I could watch RVD have matches, you know, from that 97 to 02, 03 era. You know, Rob Van Dam was the top of the top for me.
Yeah, when it comes to wrestling on this podcast, we're talking about the characters and not who they were in their personal lives. So obviously we know and acknowledge that Chris Benoit, you know, did some terrible things, but we're always talking about the character and not the person behind it. So then we had a singles match. The Undertaker picks up the win against Test. This match went for 8 minutes and 10 seconds. It was probably rare for Undertaker to find somebody as tall as him, but Test definitely fit that bill.
Yeah, they had always wanted Test to be more than what he was. And I feel like The Undertaker just got so many raw deals with who he had to go up against. And it wasn't until like the end of his run where he was just constantly going against top guys. I mean, Giant Gonzalez, King Kong Bundy, Test. You know, he had
Test had the look. He just didn't deliver.
Yeah, I mean, he had moments. He was solid, but he wasn't on the level of The Undertaker.
Yeah.
You know, The Undertaker's in rarefied air here. And, you know, that's why he is who he is. But, you know, for what it was, you know, you wanted to see the Undertaker entrance. You wanted to see him come out.
Yeah.
You know, this was during the Badass era. You know, he was coming out to, you know, either Limp Bizkit or Kid Rock. So during this time, everybody loved it. Come out, you know, waving the American flag and everything, you know. So it was awesome. And going against the anti-American, what better thing to see than the American badass coming down on a Harley to kick this guy's ass. And, you know, that's what The Undertaker did and what he did best.
Then we had an unsanctioned match. Shawn Michaels, this was his return.
Yep.
Picked up the win against Triple H in a match that went for 27 minutes and 50 seconds, which is way longer than all these other matches. And he just returned, and he had been like he had injured himself, his back, right? Years before.
Yeah, so we hadn't seen him since, WrestleMania 14, which was in, 1998. So it was over 4 years
Yeah.
since you had seen Shawn Michaels in a ring, and he looked phenomenal. He
Yeah, he
looked
looked
great,
great.
and like Shawn Michaels always did, never missed a beat, always delivered. This was one of the best Shawn Michaels matches ever. This was without a shadow of a doubt the match of the night. Meltzer gave it 4.25 stars, and Cage Match gives it a 9.13 rating, and it was awesome. Triple H was in his prime as the ultimate bad guy.
Yep.
Shawn Michaels could do no wrong as far as being the ultimate babyface. And you had blood, you had ladders, you had tables. And it wasn't like Shawn Michaels just went out there and they did a couple headlocks, some body slams, punches. Shawn Michaels was doing everything.
Yeah.
He was doing planchas. He was diving from the ring onto tables to the outside. He took a backbreaker to a steel chair.
Yeah.
Gimmicked or not, that can't feel good on a broken back.
Right.
And it showed Shawn Michaels was clean. Shawn Michaels was in his prime again.
Yeah.
And, this was awesome. If you've never seen this match, go out of your way, spend 27 minutes, almost 28 minutes watching this and appreciating how good the showstopper was and how good Triple H was at this time.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels was incredible.
Yeah, because if you think about it, this was in August, and then in November, we had the first ever Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
That you can go back and listen to a previous episode.
UPS outfit.
Yeah. If you go back on a previous podcast around SummerSlam, around Survivor Series, we did a retrospect and talked about that.
Yeah, the Elimination Chamber.
So yeah, take a look back on that. This was awesome. Can't give this enough. If this match happened today, I think Dave would give it 5 stars.
Absolutely. Then the last and final match was the WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Title match. Brock Lesnar, and his advocate, Paul Heyman, pick up the win against The Rock. It was a title change. Was this his first time? And the youngest, right?
Yep. He was the youngest world champion of all time. And this was his first world title match, his first title win in WWE. So he debuted the night after WrestleMania this year and then won the King of the Ring by beating Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
And then would go on to be world champion here. And it was a huge moment. And it was also the end of The Rock. We didn't really see The Rock that much after this. That's when you got a couple, one-off appearances, and that was the end.
Yeah.
But it was the beginning for Brock Lesnar. And I remember when this came out on DVD, I was working at Strawberries in Enfield, Connecticut, and someone had traded this in on DVD and sold it to the store. So we hooked up a karaoke machine and watched it on a karaoke machine because I was telling my manager at the time how good the unsanctioned match was. So we watched the unsanctioned match and the world title match on like a little 5-inch karaoke screen in a Strawberries in Connecticut.
That's hilarious.
So I'll always remember that. But this was awesome. Brock Lesnar was something you had never seen before. You'd never seen anybody like him. The speed, the strength, the athleticism, having Paul Heyman in his corner. Everybody knew Paul. He was in charge of ECW. He had managed everybody at that point. Rick Rude, Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, he had been with all those guys.
Yeah.
And now he's got this new guy who is an absolute monster. And it's fitting. This was Brock's first SummerSlam, and this coming SummerSlam that we're about to break down could very well be his last. As we're talking right now, it's fate because on our TV during SmackDown right now,
it's the video package.
It's the video package for Brock Lesnar and Obafemi. So, looking back at SummerSlam 2002, it's certainly easy to see why it's still held in such high regard. It delivered unforgettable matches, created new stars, and set a standard that wrestling fans have been measuring SummerSlams against ever since.
But that's the beauty of this event. Every generation has its defining SummerSlam moment, from the inaugural show in '88 to the classic card in 2002, and now we're about to witness the next chapter.
This weekend, SummerSlam continues to evolve as WWE brings its biggest party of the summer to Minneapolis, Minnesota for a two-night spectacular. New rivalries will be settled, championships will be defended, and by the end of the weekend, we'll almost certainly have moments the fans will be talking about for years to come.
So we've celebrated the history. Now it's time to look ahead. Let's preview everything to watch for as SummerSlam takes over Minneapolis this weekend. So it's a two-night card. Night one is going to have the 6-woman tag team match. So, of course, the Bella Twins and Paige versus Fatal Influence, which is Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Lanny Reed. Are they kicking off the card with a P match, or is this not in any particular order?
Not in any particular order. Most likely, I would imagine, for night one, it could start off with Brock Lesnar, so we'll see.
I mean, he always kicks off big shows.
Yeah, I mean, they always say you either want to go on first or you want to go on last. You either want to set the tone or you want to close the night.
Right.
So this is in no particular order, just broken down night by night. I fully expect the Bellas and Paige to pick up the win here.
Is this for the title?
No,
it's just
they
a
don't.
match?
They don't have a trios title in WWE.
Oh, so it would.
It's 6-on-6. I mean, it's 3-on-3. So I'd imagine Fatal Influence is gonna give back the loss that Brie and Paige took on Saturday night's main event. This match is going to be what it's going to be. This is probably going to be your bathroom break match.
Yep.
This gives me diva vibes all over it. But the next match certainly does not give me that vibe.
I know. We're looking forward to this. Nick Aldis and Gunther in a singles match. It's going to be exciting. I mean, we haven't seen Nick Aldis wrestle since NWA.
Yep.
He didn't even wrestle in WWE since he's returned, right? Or since he's been...
No, he was not hired to be a wrestler. He was hired to be an on-air talent, and he said in his interview with Chris Van Vliet, which was a fun interview, that he had never even approached the subject, and that WWE is the one to approach him, and this is going to be awesome. If we get the Nick Aldis that, I have watched over the years, the Nick Aldis we got to see at All In against Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
You're in for an absolute treat. If you've never seen Nick Aldis wrestle, do yourself a favor, hop on to YouTube, go over to TNA Wrestling's YouTube page. They have a 3-hour video of just Nick Aldis matches.
That's awesome.
He's a star. He was TNA Tag Team Champion, TNA World Champion, NWA World Champion. He really helped get the NWA back on its feet, working with Billy Corgan, having awesome feuds with Cody Rhodes. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to another Nick and Cody match down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 1-1. They go for the illustrious rubber match, but I expect Gunther to win this match. It's Aldis' first match back in. Gunther's more of a protected guy. He's taken a lot of losses. But I hope this is certainly not the only time we get to see Nick Aldis in the ring.
Yeah.
I'd imagine he's going to be in spectacular shape. Be fun if his wife was in the crowd or walked him to the ring.
Mickie James.
Yeah, it would be awesome. But this is one of the matches I'm most looking forward to in the whole weekend.
She's doing country music now. She's singing.
Yeah, she has been for a while.
I had no idea.
Hardcore country.
Wow. Then we have a 6-man tag team match. LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa go up against the Bloodline. So Jacob Fatu, Jay, and Jimmy Uso. I mean, really, I'm mostly just excited to see LA Knight and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what actually happens here. Solo's the wild card. He's been doing a lot of entertaining stuff on Raw and SmackDown, and I could easily see Solo turning on them and rejoining the bloodline, it would get a huge reaction.
Yeah.
I could also see maybe someone like Zilla Fatu showing up to help Solo,
Yeah.
or I could see Zilla helping the bloodline. There's a lot of different ways you could go. In the end, I think no matter what happens, you're going to have LA Knight mad.
Yep.
And complaining and bitching and moaning on Monday Night Raw and continuing this bloodline feud.
Yeah, I mean, I've had about enough of it. I'm ready for LA Knight to get his shine and move on. You know what I mean? Or go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're ever going to pull the trigger on LA Knight. I certainly know they're going to pull the trigger on the bloodline because this story isn't going anywhere.
Nope.
This is their moneymaker. This is their NWO. And there's a lot of different ways to go. There's a lot of different characters they can involve and incorporate. So it'll be interesting to see. But at the very least, it should be entertaining.
Then finally, we get a title match, the Women's World title match, Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. Now, are we going to see Io pick up the win here, or is Liv Morgan going to continue on her reign?
If Liv Morgan loses here in her first title defense as Women's World Champion.
Is it her first?
Yeah, she hasn't defended the title yet.
Oh, so she can't lose.
She won it and hasn't defended it yet.
I mean,
she's
there every week, though.
Yeah, she's there every week, but what the hell are they doing?
Maybe.
This is 1999 all over again. I mean, how can you not have Liv Morgan defend this title once?
Has Roman defended his?
Yeah. He defended against Jacob twice.
No, but isn't she hot right now? Everybody loves her.
Yeah, everybody
Triple
loves
H is
Liv.
hot on her.
I love Liv. She's awesome. But she's got to get in that ring. They got to book her. I mean, I expect this to be an awesome match. Going into it, I wasn't excited to see the same match, 2 shows in a row, but they've had some good promos. I've loved the interactions. The whole Danhausen thing's been pretty funny. And hopefully they get some time, and we know Io can bring it. We know Liv can have great matches. So I fully expect Liv to retain and keep going as champion. If she loses it on her first defense, I mean, that's going to be pretty awful. I mean, she's been champ for over 100 days and hasn't defended it once.
Well, good for her. Then we have the Hell in a Cell match. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman versus Obafemi. I'm going to keep practicing the Brock Lesnar, how he says it. Just like him.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
You can keep practicing it, but you might not be saying it much after tomorrow because this might be it for Brock. He may be wrapping up his career.
Well, yeah. So he's not going to go to Gunther?
I don't know. I mean,
you can't really send him to Gunther anymore. Gunther's lost his luster because he keeps losing. So.
Yeah, I mean, they botched that. I mean, that was booking, but
we knew that was going to happen.
I mean, that's WWE. I mean, I also think they're, messing with Oba. They're trying to be too cute. They're delaying it, and I don't know how long you can delay it without him, getting the reins, so to speak. And I fully expect Oba to win this, ending this feud. Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, it's gone on for
and he's not getting his title shot.
Yeah, he doesn't get a title shot. I mean, he'll get it at WrestleMania probably because they're probably going to have him win the Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got stuff coming up. So there's a way they can get him on track, but it depends on what kind of Hell in a Cell this is going to be. If this is going to be an old school Hell in a Cell, like when we saw Brock Lesnar and Undertaker go at it, this could be an all-timer. If this is the normal WWE, we're going to have a cage match, but, there's going to be no blood, no real violence, just 2 beefy dudes just hitting each other.
Yeah.
And if it's just an F5 after F5 after F5.
It's going to be annoying. You don't need a cage for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd rather see them go all out and have a real good Hell in a Cell match. But if they're just hitting each other's finishers and wrapping it up, this will be a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it's not, but it probably is going to be. And then to wrap up night one, we have the undisputed WWE title match, CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. So, what are we going to get from this match? Is CM Punk going to continue on, or is Cody getting his championship back? I mean, it's been like off and on, off and on. You know what I mean?
I mean, I would expect you keep it on Punk, allow Cody to do something else. I mean, last year at this time, it was Cody and John Cena, and they took the title off Cena, put it back on Cody. So, I mean, it could be a similar thing, but I don't really envision either of these guys going babyface. I see this being a solid contest. There's been a lot of stuff on social media, a lot of stuff they're doing on house shows. Obviously, it would be much easier for Punk to go heel, but I don't really know if Punk wants to go heel. I think he's enjoying being cheered everywhere he goes and, being who he is. And Cody has resisted going heel every time they brought it up.
I need him to go heel.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
love a Cody heel.
yeah, I love heel Cody with the fur and Bernard the Business Bear. I mean, if we get Ring of Honor Cody, that's going to be awesome. But I don't know. He's their merch guy. I think he would be 1,000 times more over as a bad guy. And then after WrestleMania, you have Cody and bad guy Cody going at it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun for me. But I expect Punk to retain, and, we'll see what happens. You know, looking at all these matches, definitely Nick Aldis and Gunther is the one I'm looking forward to the most on night one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on to night two. There's an undisputed WWE title #1 contendership match, Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor. It's a mad Sami.
Yeah, I mean, I think the money in Sammy is being the guy that's screwed over. It makes total sense. He's great on the microphone, bitching and moaning about how he got a raw deal and everything.
Yeah.
When, the one who should be complaining about the raw deal is Finn Balor.
Right.
If you remember 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
Finn Balor beat Seth Rollins to win the Raw title.
And then relinquished it the next day due to injury.
Yep, and I'm not complaining about that because my man Kevin Steen won the world title that night, so that was awesome. But I expect Finn Balor to pick up the win here. I fully expect one more Finn Balor CM Punk match. They had a great match in Ireland on Raw when Punk was champ. So it wouldn't shock me if they run it back and, they tease Balor, righting that wrong and getting that world title that he only had for one night.
Then we have the WWE United States title match. Trick Williams is the champ going up against Baron Corbin. He's already getting a shot at a title.
Yeah, in WWE, soon as you come back, you get a world title shot.
Well, I mean, this isn't the title shot, but
it's a U.S. title shot.
It's true.
So he relinquished the MLW tag team titles with Donovan Dijak as part of the Skyscrapers, and he's cashing in and going right after Trick Williams. So we'll get to see, is Baron Corbin going to be able to, deliver with someone like Trick Williams? Trick Williams isn't the longtime veteran. There's nobody else to really hide this match. So these guys got to go all out. And if we get MLW Baron Corbin and on his game Trick Williams, it could be a fun match.
Lemon pepper steppers.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have Human Bunnies on a pole match. Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, I mean...
Are we getting midgets?
Oh, you're going to get...
Oh, are we getting little people?
I mean, you're getting the full Danhausen experience, I would imagine.
Who's going to come out of his box?
Danhausen... He's their biggest star right now. He is up there with Cody Rhodes as top merch mover. He's everywhere. Comic-Con panels, ESPN.
Yep.
He was on 4 segments on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago. No women, but you certainly get Danhausen multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, he's over, but that candle is going to run out. I mean, you can only get so much of Danhausen, and then you're going to be tired of him.
And they're going to milk it as long as they can. I fully expect Dominic to pick up the win here. Certainly there's going to be shenanigans and stuff going on.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but they got to get Dominic on track. I feel like ever since he beat Cena for the Intercontinental title at Survivor Series, it's been a whole lot of nothing for Dominic.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he was injured for a while, but was that before or
that was
after?
after. So
Is Cena a Grand Slam champ?
oh yeah, when he won the Intercontinental title, that was the
Yeah.
last thing he never had.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I'm sure there's going to be too many shenanigans to count on. Then we're going to have the interim WWE Women's Title ladder match. The title's vacant. Of course, Rhea Ripley is injured currently. It's going to be Charlotte Flair, Chelsea Green, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, and a mystery opponent. Who's going to pick up this win?
If I had to guess, it's probably going to be Charlotte Flair.
Okay.
I personally, as you can imagine,
want it to be Chelsea Green.
absolutely.
Yes, we know.
I mean, this is the moment. I mean,
this would be great for her.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be a short-term champion and you're just a placeholder till Rhea gets back, who better than Chelsea Green?
Right. It would be perfect for her. They could put the strap on her, see how she does. She'll kill it, and then they'll give it to her eventually anyways.
Right. I mean, I've said it time and time again. Just imagine Chelsea has no shot here. We think she's going to lose. Out comes Thick Mama Pump, Jordan Grace, to be her new muscle, to help lift her up and to claim that title.
Yeah.
And the new secret Hervis leader is Jordan Grace, taking over for Piper Niven.
Yeah.
I mean, how awesome would that be?
That'd be pretty cool. So you think that's the mystery opponent?
No, the mystery opponent's probably going to be like Lash Legend or Nia Jax.
Ugh.
Something like that. I think they're having a match on SmackDown tonight to determine who's the last person in.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but yeah, I fully expect it to be Charlotte, maybe to set up another Charlotte Rhea match, Charlotte Jade down the line as well.
Yeah.
But in my heart, I want Chelsea Green to win because she deserves it. She takes 5 seconds and makes it viral.
Yeah. Then we have the WWE Intercontinental title match, Penta versus Chad Gable. Please, dear God, do not take the title off of Penta, but it's probably going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
What? Oh, no. Here comes Danhausen. He's cursing Oh, nope.
Didn't get a chance to curse him.
Okay, so
there you go. There's your little
there's
people.
the little people. We're watching SmackDown while we're recording this, so you guys are probably seeing this, but shenanigans are beginning. So Penta's going to probably be done as the IC champ. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, Chad Gable's the hometown guy here.
Oh, no.
And if you remember what started the feud and what led Chad Gable to becoming El Grande Americano was not being able to beat Penta on the early Raw on Netflix.
Yeah.
So here's your full circle moment that I've been talking about for 4 months now.
You have?
If you listen back to our podcast.
If I've listened to our podcast.
Yeah. You will hear that I've said Chad Gable should win this match, become the hometown guy, become the Intercontinental Champion, and then set up a feud with someone like Braun Breaker, someone like Penta. Yeah. It makes it more impactful. You got to capitalize on Chad Gable right now. You
better do it quick.
Yeah. I mean, the longer we get away from that mask versus mask match, the less he's going to be impactful.
Yeah.
So you got to pull the trigger on him. You got to give him that singles run as a champion. And it sets up perfectly. The Alpha Academy is battling the Vision. They need someone else to help them.
Yeah.
And who better than the guy that put them together, the new Intercontinental Champion?
Chad.
There's your matches. And it sets up either Chad versus Logan, Chad versus Braun, maybe a Chad versus a returning Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
Could be any number of things. And Chad would have great matches with all of those guys. But you got to pull the trigger. Penta's had a great run. He's been champion for a while. He's done so much better in WWE than I ever expected him to do.
Yeah.
I mean, his brother only just recently started getting some shine.
Yep.
And Penta's been over from day one. He's a star. The move was right for him, wrong for his brother. But here we are. And, yeah, he's probably going to put Gable over, but it's not going to hurt Penta in the long run.
And then finally, the piece of resistance, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins in a World Heavyweight title match. Is Roman going to retain?
I mean, the match we've seen 7 or 8 times already, what's old is new again is what they're selling us. Is Triple H going to come out and say a new era begins tonight? Is he going to go on that post show after the pay-per-view and say, what a history defining moment?
No.
When it's the same shit we see every other year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be a banger, but and I love Roman Reigns. I'm already bored with him, though.
I mean, I like both these guys a lot, but you're recycling the same stuff we've
I mean,
seen.
this is what they do, though.
Right. And this is what I always say when people are like, oh, someone like Kenny Omega should go to
No,
WWE.
he should not.
Oh, someone, they always name these guys. And I always tell you, okay, so if this person were to go to WWE,
Would
do
they
you,
have a chance?
yeah, would they have a chance? The main title picture is very blocked up right now. You have Cody, you have Punk, you have Roman, you have Seth, you have Gunther, you're going to have Oba,
Yeah.
Are any, people leaving AEW like a Royce Keys, are they going to get past any of these guys as far
No.
as the pecking order?
No. I mean, look at Liv Morgan. She has come a long way since she was with Ruby Riott
Yeah.
in the Riot Squad or whatever, Riot Club. And it took forever for her to be on top. Like, she has really put in time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Royce Keys, by the time he gets anywhere near the top, he's not going to get there. He's going to be too old.
Yeah. I mean, I expect this to be a fun match. I expect it to be entertaining. We could certainly see some bloodline shenanigans getting involved here. That certainly wouldn't surprise me. Jacob getting involved because Seth, super kicked him once already.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. But we'll see here. It'll be interesting. Could Heyman jump ship from the Vision and go back to Roman? I certainly could see that happening as well.
I mean, he doesn't have a star in the Vision anymore. Like, they're doing all right, but they're just kind of like,
They're there. And that's what I feel like a lot of WWE is right now. It's it's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, certainly we're gonna watch, we're gonna enjoy parts of this, but they are certainly not hot like they have been the past couple of years.
No.
And they got to have a good show here. You got 2 nights to put on banger matches, and we'll see what happens. Is it going to be banger matches, or is it going to be short matches and a lot of commercials?
I think it's probably that.
So we'll see. You're going to be able to watch this on the ESPN Unlimited app, so make sure you tune in.
And just like that, another SummerSlam is in the books. We started all the way back in '88, revisited the classic that was SummerSlam 2002, and then broke down everything we're looking forward to this weekend in Minneapolis.
One of our favorite things about SummerSlam is seeing how every generation has that one match, that one moment, or that one surprise they'll never forget. Now it's time to find out what this year's event adds to that incredible history.
We want to hear from you. Which SummerSlam is your all-time favorite? Do you agree with us that 2002 is one of the greatest pay-per-views ever? Or is there another SummerSlam that tops your list?
And don't forget to send us your predictions before the first bell rings. Who's walking out with championship gold? Who steals the show? And what moment do you think everybody will be talking about when the weekend is over?
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share the show with the wrestling fans in your life. Every share, every comment, and every review helps us grow in this amazing community.
You can also follow us on all of our social media platforms for breaking wrestling news, live reactions, exclusive clips, and updates on our upcoming interviews and special episodes.
We'll be back after SummerSlam with our full reactions, our biggest winners and losers, and we'll answer the one question everyone asks after every major WWE event.
Did SummerSlam live up to the hype?
Until next time, thanks for listening to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast. Enjoy SummerSlam weekend, and as always,
keep your shoulders off the mat.
And keep your love for professional wrestling alive. We'll catch you next time.
Hey there, this is the X-Man, host of the Mix Morning Show on Mix 94.7, as well as commentator and now part owner of 814 Wrestling. You are listening to Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling, the podcast for wrestling fans.